Mike McCormack, the National Historian of the AOH in America, and he's here to represent the thousands of Irish Americans, and they helped finance the struggle, and their sons helped finance the struggle that emerged in the 1916 Rising. So I'd like you to welcome Mike McCormack.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation to share with you one of the most exciting chapters in Irish history. An Irish American named Kennedy, who stood at this site before me, said that those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. Today we know that the revolution started by those who lie here was the result of three ingredients: frustration, inspiration, and motivation. The frustration came from years of failed attempts at independence, both peaceful and otherwise. The inspiration came from the Celtic revival, in which the study of history elevated a pride in heritage. And the motivation came from Ireland's exiled children in America, as Patriots called them in the proclamation. They were the generation forced to flee their homeland, and they raised their children to remember the reasons why. Then, led by exiled Fenians like John O'Mahony, Michael Dehaney, John DuBois, and Thomas J. Clark, and by Irish Americans like Boston's Matt Cummings, Chicago's Alex Sullivan, Philadelphia's Joe McGarity, and New York's Judge Daniel Cohallen. Organizations like the Friends of St. Patrick and the Ancient Order of Hibernians in America, whose Emmet Monument Association evolved into the Fenian Brotherhood, and the Clan na Gael, which grew from that, all ultimately coalesced into the Friends of Irish Freedom. These societies provided the encouragement and monetary assistance that allowed the courageous men who lie here to once more attempt their dream of independence. From the financial support given to the Hibernian Rifles of the American Alliance during the Great Dublin Lockout, to the Clan na Gael arms sent to the IRB and the Volunteers, Ireland's extended family across the Atlantic gave the material and moral motivation to the heroes of Easter Week. And Irish Americans today are proud to keep that tradition alive. When I return to America, I will attend an Ancient Order of Hibernians sponsored nationwide remembrance on the historic date of the Rising in April, opening with a commemorative Mass at New York's St. Patrick's Cathedral. And on Long Island, New York, we will unveil a monument on May the 3rd, the day the executions started, with former Long Island resident Thomas J. Clark, to the memory of the courageous men who lie here and to the brave men and women who followed them. Just as America's struggle for independence started with the Battle of Bunker Hill and ended years later with the Treaty of Paris, so too did Ireland's struggle start with the Easter Rising and end with the establishment of the Republic of Ireland, as both nations successfully broke the shackles of empire. Significantly, the largest group supporting George Washington's army were Irish immigrants and their sons. And in return, the largest group supporting the Patriots of 1916 were America's Friends of Irish Freedom. And then in 1907, one of those exiled children who had become an American citizen, Thomas J. Clark, returned home. It was he who employed that American support and revitalized the dormant IRB. It was he who orchestrated the events that followed, along with the courageous men of the Irish Republican Brotherhood and Irish Volunteers, the men and women of the Irish Citizen Army, and the women of Common Amon. Early after his return, Tom Clark, who lies here, enlisted a young schoolteacher named Patriots, who also lies here, to speak at an annual commemoration at the Bodenstown grave of Wolfe Tone, an event of considerable Republican significance. On that occasion, Pierce began his speech with the words, "We have come to the holiest place in Ireland." I am reminded of that because now, after their sacrifice, this has become the holiest place in Ireland. For the men who lie here and those who supported them from wherever they hailed have made it so. These men were not rebels, they were visionaries. And I wrote this remembrance, which I'd like to share with you now. I stood beside the stones that line the hallowed plot so deep, that hold the quicklime grave in which the visionaries sleep. The stones around are all engraved with the names of those within, and my mind began to wander to the things that could have been. I stood in silence, praying for those patriots of the past, and in my mind the stones awoke and spoke to me at last. My name is Padraig Pearse, said one, and I was murdered by the foe for proclaiming Irish freedom out before the GPO. But in the end, my greatest joy was in having played my part, that millions now live in the dream that I shaped in my heart. My name is Thomas Clark, said one, and it was here they laid me down for proposing to my people independence from the crown. They could not break my spirit, though they tortured me in jail, for the legacy I left behind will always tell the tale. One said, my name is Connolly, and I loved the working man. I fought for him as hard as any single person can. They thought they had me finished when they shot me in a chair. But look around, and you will see the unions are still there. I swear I heard from Sean McDermott, and then from Eamon Kent, Plunkett, McDonough, and Daly, as on and on they went. O'Hanrahan, Houston, and Mallon soon followed all the others, and Colbert and McBride, and then Willie, Padraig's brother. And every single one of them said they almost were at peace. There's only one thing left to seek, to put their souls at ease. They gave their lives to see their land become completely free, from Donegal to Wexford, and from Antrim to Tralee. The fact that 6 fair counties still remain in other hands delays their rest till Ireland's flag over all her nation stands. And that is why we must still pray to see partition cease, so that the day will finally come when they truly rest in peace. Tá mé críochna, agus garo hagui.